Adam, thank you so much for joining me again. You are the only guest ever to be on this show twice.
I don't know whether that makes me the, it's how to be a winner and a loser at the same time. I don't know.
Well, there's no prizes because you didn't give me a prize for being on yours more than once.
Absolutely. Well, no, as I say, you have the same awards. So it's look, we always we have a lot of conversations when we don't hit record. So why not just smack a record button on and let's see where it goes.
I couldn't agree more. But I want to talk to you about this because you recently rebranded your podcast.
Yes, I did.
It was the Client Catching podcast.
It was. That was what the old version was, yeah.
And now it's called the
B2B Growth Think Tank.
Boom.
So it's got a change in name, but it's not just the name. It's a change in format and a change in the reason why the podcast exists. And the name is there to sort of reflect a little bit more about really the subject of the show and what it is there to help a listener do. I wanted it to communicate it a little bit more. The old show was a little bit, a little bit cute. I think it was to represent the fishing analogy that runs through my business and all that kind of thing. But what I really wanted to do was to focus on an end result that somebody could expect to actually get by tuning in, subscribing and listening. So that was the first point. And the second point is the format of the show is different. So it's not a pure interview show anymore. We are bringing on guests and asking them about their expertise and all that kind of thing. But the core of the podcast now, it's all built around what I am terming the virtual hot seat, which is what you kindly joined me on the live launch, the 3-hour live stream, which, that was an interesting one. It was fun. It was brilliant fun. And I honestly didn't think personally I'd be able to pull it off, because 3 hours of me focusing and keeping my ADHD mind in one place was a heck of a challenge. But actually, it wasn't. It was great fun, because the whole point of this virtual hot seat is responding to questions and challenges that are sent in by listeners of the show, people in my network, that kind of thing, something that's going on in their business right now. And each week, the guest and I literally mastermind and brainstorm solutions to that challenge on their behalf. So the idea is that it becomes a repository of real world actionable business advice given by people that are in the trenches with expertise, but really they are running a business and they may well have been through a lot of those challenges themselves, and they have a lot of understanding and wisdom to actually give to the audience. So that's where it's going. And that's the kickoff was good fun. And I think your one actually went on yesterday, funny enough. On the podcast itself, we've got the third part going on tomorrow, and then some of the other ones that we've done with individuals. So it's good fun. It was good fun, and I'm really excited about this new format, something new, something different, and I'm hoping that it will provide the value that I know the first few have already done so.
So this is the thing that I think was really cool about it. And one, thank you for inviting me onto it. Although you did call me aggressive at one point, but we'll come back to that later on. You knew that was coming.
Absolutely.
The thing that's really interesting, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, is branding. And we're going to talk about it really quickly. We won't spend ages on this, but a lot of people are like that. No, my brand is X, or my company name is X, and it's really important to me, and I've set it up now. And what you said there, and I think it's really important, right? It's things have changed. Things change, things evolve, things develop. And as your business does as well, sometimes a change of name isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of people see that as kind of a negative. So I just wondered, like, from your point of view, what were the really key moments that made you go, I need to do something to change this?
Well, I think that from the podcast perspective, it was sort of some of those things that I mentioned. I realized that it had evolved, and really where I wanted to go with it, my vision for it had changed. And so I needed it to fit where I saw the next. I mean, there's over 100 episodes of the Client Catching podcast. I wanted the new show to at least represent the next 100, 200, 500 episodes. So while I could have continued in the line that in the vein that I was doing and kept it the same and all the rest of it, would I necessarily have wanted to carry on with that in that way? I'm not sure. I wanted to do something different. I wanted it to stand out a little bit and be different. And the whole sort of think tank idea is all around another evolution in the business, which is all about collaboration. And it's all about helping my clients understand the value of collaboration and partnerships and joint ventures and all that kind of thing is a real key growth lever in any business, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what technology comes along, no matter what social media platform becomes hot right now, Clubhouse. It's eliminating the distractions and actually looking at, right, is what I have right now representing where I want things to go in the future? And that's why I made the change. And it's supported where I'm going with my business, as well as where I want to add value to people along the way.
I think there's a couple of things that are key. One, we'll come back to Clubhouse. Two, yeah, I've got some strange feelings about that. Two, though, what's really interesting, I think, about that is, again, your podcast is an extension of you. You're an extension of your business. Everyone's part and parcel of the same picture, right? Adam is Think Like a Fish, is the B2B Growth Think Tank. And I think what's really interesting is when you realize, or you have that realization of, partnerships, collaboration, and everything else. I kind of know a bit more about you because, like you said, we do have lots of these conversations. But you mentioned to me that this is something as well that's kind of going back to basics for you to a certain extent. And you actually use this to build an entire business before Think Like a Fish. So
that's right.
Do you mind talking a little bit about that in the sense of like just reminding yourself what actually works from a previous era, let's call it, and then actually rebringing that into the limelight and bringing that back to the forefront for your business today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've become a victim of my own, I guess, enthusiasm to learn over the years. I am a marketing geek. I love learning. I love, all these shiny objects that come at us and the opportunity that is placed in front of us. It's like, I want to go down the rabbit hole every single time and get involved and understand and learn it and all the rest of it, and then apply it to helping clients actually get results in their business. I realized that I love doing that, but not everyone else does. And so what people really care about is this going to work for me? Can I operate it? And can I get results using it? And I realized that a lot of people, they don't want to be on every social media platform. They don't want to build these fancy funnels that have all these upsells, downsells, cross sells, all the rest of it, all that sort of stuff. They just want a simple process and a repeatable system that will allow them to get in front of hundreds, if not thousands, of their ideal potential clients in an authoritative way that will mean that they can come, basically that they have a way of consistently getting in front of that group of people that isn't going to take them hours and hours or require that they become some sort of data analyst or marketing expert or anything like that. And I started thinking, right, what did I do? Because I've been in this game for 18 years. What was I doing 18 years ago that worked then, that could still work now, but I could apply a bit of a modern twist to? And I went back and I started in marketing, as I say, like 18 years ago. And I was helping I was actually working for a production company agency that put on internal marketing events for big companies, Microsoft, RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, all that kind of thing. So I got an insight into sort of the power of basically community and groups and actually sharing a vision and all that kind of thing. And then over the years, I worked for a company that was basically, their entire business was partnership marketing. They never actually sold to an end user. They work with partners. So they were a big IT firm and an IT services firm, and they basically worked on behalf of huge contracts, like government contracts, all that kind of thing, and provided the parts of a contract that the big boys didn't want to do, like the call centers and all that sort of stuff. The guy that ran that bought that company for 50 grand. And just as I was leaving back in my day before I went off snowboarding for a season, was basically, he bought that and he floated it on the stock exchange and he turned up to work in a Lamborghini. Pretty successful model. Then over the years, I worked in lots of conferences and events business. And a key part of what we did in those businesses was form what was termed contra deals, partnerships, joint marketing, all the rest of it. And I actually helped create and start a brand new events business that was selling financial conferences to investment banks in the Middle East. Me, a sales guy, and the managing director in an office in Farringdon with nothing more than 3 laptops and 3 phones. Started it from complete scratch, and the entire marketing strategy was all based on, right, we need to get in front of a lot of these potential delegates. How do we do it? Well, let's just do what we know works, which is going to a ready-made audience where people are already there and people already have their attention and do deals. So it was media outlets, vendors, suppliers, all that kind of thing that we did deals. So it's like, right, if you would like to come to the event, you can press cover it, you can write articles on it, you can get access to some of the key people and the speakers and all that kind of stuff. Will you promote us? Very simple. And 4 events, 12 months later, just over 7 figures in revenue generated just from doing that.
It's amazing because we often forget sometimes the simplicity, like you said, especially if you're in this field or you like digital marketing, we get distracted. Oh, look, pretty things over there and over here and whatever else. And I think one of the key things is that business is business. Nothing's really changed. And digital marketing, you said this just before we hit the record button, digital marketing is still marketing. It's still about getting your business in front of people, the right people. And actually, partnerships can be a really powerful way of doing that. What are some of the ways that small businesses can start understanding a little bit more or doing a little bit more in terms of actually finding partners?
So I often say that I think that for any small business that has been around for a few years, there's almost certainly 6 or 7 figures of untapped growth potential hiding in your network. So the first thing that I would suggest doing is just taking a look through your network. And when you're looking through your network, start asking yourself the question, which of these people and the businesses that they represent, which of them are complementary to the kind of service that I offer? You want to start thinking, I call it, keeping the fishing thing going upstream, downstream. So who are the people upstream from you that you can feed people to? But probably as important, if you're looking to grow right now, it's who are the people sort of downstream that are going to be essentially feeding you. So you're looking for those groups of people. And then if you know them, it's simply a question of reaching out and saying, hey, do you want to have a conversation? I've got some ideas of how we could potentially collaborate. Like, it can be that simple, especially if you know someone. If you don't, and you're looking to grow and you're looking to do this a little bit more systematically, there is a decent process that you can follow. It's about connecting, it's about all sorts of things. But the fundamental piece of it is essentially who already has your ideal customers or ideal clients sitting in their network, client base, audience, whatever you want to think of, and how can I add value to them in a way that will also allow me to get in front of that audience. I call it fishing in other people's pond full of hungry fish. It's like, instead of standing on a river competing with 1,000 other fishermen all trying to catch the same handful of fish, what you're doing is you're getting invited into people's private ponds full of those hungry fish where nobody else is fishing. And you literally are casting and pulling out, casting and pulling out. There are, that's my, that's the sort of keeping the fishing thing going. But essentially that's how I explain it. And that's how, if you want to get really crude, it's shooting fish in a barrel.
That's exactly what I was thinking, to be fair. It's not so much fishing in somebody else's pond full of it. It's literally shooting fish in a barrel. Yeah,
there are times where my analogy can get quite crude. I don't like to think that we shoot them. Maybe we just sort of stun them a little bit and
take them out lovingly and caress them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, eventually we put them back in the barrel for the next person.
It's a catch and release policy here, definitely.
But it is quite incredible because you mentioned something there, and I think a lot of small businesses don't realize this, is unlocking the potential of your network. And this is something that I'm probably going to go away slightly from partnerships, but a lot of people don't take into consideration how much cheaper it is to upsell to an existing client or resell to a client who's already bought from you once in the past, rather than trying to find a new client. So all of these funnel-based systems and everything else, you've got a really complex, and it becomes sort of like 17 pieces of different technology, and you're trying to pull all these things together. And in reality, sometimes it's just as simple as asking the people you currently work with, going, is there anything else that I could help you with? And that can have a huge impact and a huge effect. Or asking people as well, like, is there anyone else that you think we should be talking to that we could help out, that you think our services would be a good fit for?
100%. And the thing that people don't necessarily think about is that you can turn your clients into partners. You can actually find a way of working with your clients in a partnership capacity that benefits them and benefits you. And it makes sense, because at the end of the day, you want your client to succeed, and it's in your client's interest that you succeed as well, because you get to then invest in your business, that invest in the service that you provide them, and all that kind of thing. So it's that sort of, I call it the ecosystem. It grows on itself. And it's something that when you understand it and understand that it's actually quite simple, it's really powerful, right? It's that Occam's razor kind of idea. Sometimes the simplest answer is the obvious one. And sometimes we just think, I need new, I need shiny, I need this, I need that. Where actually your most valuable asset is the clients that you already have and the relationship with them that you already have, and the relationship that you have with your network. They're assets.
It's definitely, and I know we're not the only people that get sort of carried away and looking at new things. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably don't have the same thick skin maybe as I do or as you do from having that experience to do it. But picking up the phone, having a conversation, or trying to organize a conversation with an existing client to say, hey, like, look, are you happy with everything that's going on? Is there anything that we could do better? Is there anything else that you think of or that you're planning to do in the next 6 months? And then also just literally coming out with it and saying, hey, like, is there anyone else you can introduce me to? Like, a lot of people are scared to do that. But if you've got a good working relationship, your client won't feel in any way, shape, or form like disrespected or, oh, that's it. What, you want to find other business? You don't want to work with me? There's nothing bad or negative.
Nope.
But I think there's a massive fear at the beginning, especially like it's a bit like cold calling, right? No one particularly enjoys cold calling. Once you've done it for like 6 months, you're pretty much you pretty much let anything bounce off you, right? You've got the horror stories and the scars, and you can move on, and then you just carry on, and you're like that, yeah, cool. Like, no, okay, cool. Get the next one on. We'll make this work. But I think that's something. How do you think people can approach that and try and get rid of that fear element more than anything else?
Well, part of it, I think, is, as you've said, sometimes it's exposure therapy, if that's sort of the thing that you're dealing with at this time. I think other parts of it, though, are if you one thing that I help people do is kind of systemize this process so that it doesn't feel icky, it doesn't feel weird, because ultimately what you're doing is, yes, you can have that conversation that's a direct referral. Who do you know that may well benefit from our services is essentially code for who can I have a sales conversation with? And that can come with a lot of social capital risk and all that kind of thing that will exist. However, if you sort of take away some of that risk and you reframe the question ever so slightly, you can almost repeat the question. It's like, who do you know that could also benefit from the kind of things that we do? We have this asset. We have this document, PDF. We have this training. We have this webinar we run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have a book. We have blah, 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 blah. Who do you know that we could offer this to, or on your behalf, send this to, that may well find it valuable? And so what you're doing then, you're not actually saying you're going to get on a call. What you're saying is, we've got something valuable that could help. You know that we do good work. Therefore, you know that the information that we're going to provide them is good quality. And then when you've got those assets in the systems, that's kind of the modern version, that modern twist that exists with the partnerships that we have these days. You then get them into your system, your ecosystem, and you then get to follow up, et cetera, et cetera. And they will make their own choice if and when they're ready, rather than it all being, how do I get on the phone with someone that you know?
Yeah, probably a slightly less aggressive approach than what I would choose.
Yes, absolutely aggressive, or opinionated, maybe.
You know me so well now. Okay. But we've talked about the ideas of partnerships and how to kind of try and figure those out. But what are some of the ways, the nitty gritty, let's call it, of the actual partnerships? Because obviously there are things like affiliates out there, affiliate businesses, referral schemes, whatever you want to call them. But what are some of the ways that, especially for small businesses where they might be a little bit panicked, right? Oh, I can't give away too much, or I don't really have money to invest in a new idea, or whatever it might be. What are some of the ways that they can set up a simple partnership that could benefit both sides?
Well, as you sort of refer to there are a number of different versions of a partnership that you can have. You can go as simple as a content distribution partnership, which is, I have this article, would you share it with your people, right? That is the most simple partnership there is. That, it doesn't require agreements or contracts or anything like that. It just means, hey, this is valuable, would you share it with your audience? Cool. You share it, and if you've set it up well, then you have the opportunity, maybe if it's like online or something like that, to capture some details, etc. Or it's simply that they are exposed to some of your ideas, some of your thinking, and they want to explore a little bit further on their own. That's the most loose term. On the other end of this spectrum is literally complete sort of like service integration, where you have white label parts that integrate with others, and it's all blah blah. It can get really sort of intricate, but you can start at any point and you can do different things along the way. The thing that so you can have commercial deals, you can have affiliate commissions, you can have all of those, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You could approach people with a simple idea of saying, hey, I see that you do great work in this area. I saw this thing that you wrote, or I listened to something that an interview you did on a podcast or something like that, et cetera, et cetera. I love specifically what you do around this, blah, 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 blah. I was thinking that your audience would really benefit from this specific piece of knowledge that I have, because I can see that it's not something that you've currently covered in some of your content. Are you interested in seeing how we could do something together to provide your audience with additional value? Like, that's as simple as I can make it. But it's essentially, if you're reaching out to a partner, there's a bit of a method to it in 3 parts. It's like, you need a hook. You need to be able to clearly articulate what's in it for them. And you need that open loop call to action. The hook is, you're not some random stalker on the internet that has no idea who they are. It's like, I know who you are. I've seen what you do. I appreciate you. Show some gratitude, appreciation, et cetera, actually show if you've done things like, leave them a review on their, if they've written a book, write a review on Amazon, write a review on the podcast, share some of their stuff, comment on their stuff that they're putting out into the world, get on their radar, and then explain the benefits to their audience and them, why it would make sense for you to be put in front of their audience. And then the simplest ask is, are you open to that? It's a really
interesting thing. And I'm going to jump in and say, so you've given like a framework of the things that are important within those things. What I will say, do not copy paste emails to people. I can tell from a mile away. We get a lot of requests. Can we put a guest blog? Can you give me a backlink? Can you do this? And some of the worst ones are literally like in your article, and they've tagged or they've highlighted highlighted and hyperlinked this article, and it's not even on our website. And you're like that, like, I can see this from a mile away. And if you actually did know anything about us, you'd know that that's not the case. And even worse, a sales pitch that came through yesterday on my email was, we've had a look at your website and stuff, and we think we could really help you with your digital marketing. And I was like, that hurts a little bit, because we're actually a digital marketing agency. But secondly, did you even read who we were? Because pitching that, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it is clear when you don't do it, which is why this is not, as you say, it's not a copy and paste. You actually need to do your research, but you don't need to be blasting this out to thousands of people. Like, one of the key things that teach people is develop what's universally known as your Dream 100, but it's your Dream 100 partners. It's like, who are the people that would, if they partnered with you, if they recommended and endorsed you and all that kind of thing to the people that they know, would have a massive impact on the ability for you to grow your business. So if you're looking at it, right, okay, I've got 100 people on this list. Is every single one of those people going to say yes? Of course not. But it also means that you don't need to be blasting out and spamming thousands. You can work to a list of like 10 at a time and work it, because ultimately what you're trying to do is get in front of one new audience every week. It could be in a form of a podcast interview. Here's a prime example. It could be in the form of delivering some kind of training or talk or webinar or something to the audience that you are being promoted to. It could be just sharing a simple download or a PDF or something like that. There are multiple ways of doing it, but you're not going to get the attention of someone until they've seen that you have actually done your research and you understand that there is a benefit to their audience from the topic you are offering to teach that audience. It's kind of like what I call the value gap. You're looking for that value gap, the piece that you know their audience is going to benefit from, but you know that they do not teach.
I think it's interesting as well, because we're talking about this currently from like a services point of view. But I think as well, this is still ultimately, it does work for a lot of products as well. And I remember having a conversation, I can't remember who with, on this podcast, about the idea of affiliate style links and stuff like that. But what you mentioned earlier, you know, upstream, downstream, you'll have an audience that you can actually offer other products to, which could potentially generate new revenue streams for you, something that you don't do, you're not interested in doing, you're never going to go into. So for example, an example for us as a digital agency, it might be the example of hosting. You know, when people come to us, we don't necessarily deal with everyone that we do speak to. And then we can say, well, if you do want to set it up though, here you go, there's a hosting provider and we get a small kickback, for example. But it works on both sides. And actually, if you've got a product that potentially could be a really good addition to somebody else's product, then that's a great audience to go and talk to, right? And it might be, you know, you do designer coffee mugs. Okay, great. Well, if there's a coffee seller that's an independent coffee seller that makes their own or roasts their own blend or whatever it might be, there's a link there. You can have a partnership, and it is a partnership that fits together and it makes sense, and that you can make that more interesting for them. And I think that's, a lot of people don't realize the benefits that can come from this, right?
You see this everywhere. You see it absolutely everywhere when you really start looking. Order anything online, like groceries, food shopping, all that kind of thing. Guaranteed that, you know, you're going to get some form of flyer in one of the bags with an offer from one of our partners. When you go on, you know, when you've been on their websites, you know, Tesco's a great example. They have lots of different other options and you get benefits from our partners, all that kind of thing. If you look at any type of, I mean, think about some of the movie, you know, maybe not at the moment, not a lot of movies are being released, but movies that are coming out, the actors, the actresses, etc., they form partnerships, or the production companies form partnerships with the big talk shows and the big chat shows, because they want to promote their movie, and the talk show want to have well-known celebrities providing entertainment to their audience. So that's a partnership that works. Or think about, again, with movies. How many times do you walk into a supermarket and see on cereal boxes like toys for kids' movies or things like that? That is a partnership between the movie production and the cereal companies. I mean, theme parks are another one. I mean, there's so many examples of this that go on. It's insane. And you know that they work because you see it all the time. So many examples. And you know, I could go on, you know, there's licensing deals, there's so many different things that you can do with a partnership. But the simplest one is finding a way to regularly get put in front of thousands of your ideal potential clients and providing value by literally just doing what you do every day. And that is talking about what you do and a problem that you help solve for a particular type of person. And you kind of attract the right kind of people with, if it's a talk, it's a title of your talk. If it's a PDF or it's a document or something like that, it's the title of that, which basically pulls out the hungry fish in that person's audience to pay attention to you.
And to be fair, you're also going to an audience that you already know. I'm not going to say they're warm leads by any means, but it's an audience that has an interest in your industry, your product, your specific service. And this is a massive difference compared to spending a ton of money trying to get adverts in front of completely cold audiences that you don't necessarily
100%.
know work. And that's a huge difference. So there is even I'm not going to say that I'm encouraging this by any means, but there's even a financial value to doing these sort of partnerships. So if there's an opportunity to get in front of X number, X number of people but they want a few quid, or they want a deal whereby if they send somebody your way that you'd give them something. Have a good think about it, because these things are, one of the biggest ones would be AppSumo, right?
Yeah.
As a software kind of reseller, they take an absolutely exorbitant amount of the money that comes from the sales from those deals. So they get people that basically want to have a huge audience of ready to buy customers, potential customers. They have to give a super good discount, so it's already much cheaper than they would ever sell it before, and they lose a high percentage of that money to AppSumo. That's a partnership. Yep. Why would you do it? Because that email goes out to 2 million potential buyers, and you may only make this much, but you might make this much times by 20,000, 40,000 people that you just never would have had access to otherwise.
Another example is Groupon. It's the entire model. It's like, they partner with providers, and they basically do the same thing. They take a markup, big discount, put it in front of their loyal, crazy, well, I don't know if they are loyal, crazy anymore. I haven't looked at Groupon for a while, but
I was going to say, are they still in business? I haven't checked it out for a long time.
So. I am assuming so, but there's so many examples of this type of model that the beauty of it is that you can kind of make it work for how you want your business to work. There's no hard and fast rules. You don't have to give commissions. You can do swaps. So if I do something in front of your audience, you want to do something in front of mine, that's how that sort of works together. That's a good old fashioned JV swap in the online world. That's been going on for centuries. The example again with the the whole the movies and talk shows and that kind of thing. I mean, what's the doctor? It's Dr. Phil, isn't it, on Oprah, that used to be on Oprah? Yeah, that's a great example, right? Oprah had the audience. Dr. Phil was a doctor. Like, after getting invited onto that show and then coming back again and again and again, that guy is now worth not as much as Oprah, but a lot, right? Simply because he borrowed Oprah's audience. And the thing about partnerships, which is very, very different to everything else out there, all the tactics, it is kind of getting you 12 steps in front of anyone else that is starting at the back, which is, going with the cold advertising and all the outreach and all the rest of it, because there's a psychological principle that exists here. And that is the trust implied from an endorsed recommendation, which is essentially when you work with a partner that has the ears and the trust of their audience, and they say, hey, if you're dealing with this problem, you should definitely check out what this guy is doing over here. Why don't you have a little look at what, the training that they're doing, or grab this resource or whatever. It comes with my complete endorsement. Well, that perception is already massively different from a Facebook ad that shouts, look at me. It's an implied recommendation. And there's that psychological piece, which it's the hardest thing in marketing to do, is breaking down the trust barrier. And that's taken care of through a partnership. And that's why, to use the cliche, it is a shortcut.
A shortcut.
And I hate using it, but I will. I just did. You can quote me.
That's literally it. Adam King sells shortcuts.
Absolutely.
So actually, talking about different platforms and everything else that we've looked at, but Clubhouse, we mentioned it earlier, and I want to kind of have a quick chat about it. For anyone who doesn't know what Clubhouse is, I'm defining it nowadays as literally, it's an audio only social network. I don't know how else to define it. Place where people can come together and have a chat. It's basically like a park bench used to be, I guess, when before the internet. But how have you found it so far? Are you using it much, or have you basically done a me and just downloaded it and tried it out a couple of times and finding it very difficult to jump in?
Yeah, I think that, funny enough, I got an invite from Jake, who was on your panel on the relaunch. And when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is potentially game-changing. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's blah, 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 blah. And I could see myself going down that rabbit hole. And there were two things I think that I benefited from that stopped me going down the rabbit hole. One is that I had the launch to focus on, and I am homeschooling and doing all sorts of stuff at the moment. So my time is limited. So I didn't have the time to benefit. Second is that at the time I still had an iPhone 6, which the app didn't go on. So I could only get it on an iPad, right? So actually my failure and sort of, disinterest in upgrading my iPhone every year until it literally breaks has saved me from going down a rabbit hole. I think I do see that there's benefits to it. I've been in it and you can hear people doing things and all the rest of it. But out of every social media platform that I've seen, this one has the potential to literally suck your time like nothing else. If you use it properly and you have it as a strategy, absolutely. But if you literally go on and spend all your time on it, I don't know if long term it's going to have all the benefit. I think that there is a massive land grab at the moment. You see a lot of people out there that I think if you have existing audiences and you are going out there and you're looking to connect with others with big audiences, that's where a lot of the benefit is at the moment. If you are able to add value to conversations that are going on and you are picked up, then it's a great place to potentially develop partnerships. Absolutely. Do I personally have the time to invest in it? No.
Well,
absolutely not.
This is the thing, though. Again, I literally just did an episode. I think it's the episode before this one when it goes live. But talking about this, saying, trying to jump on every new platform one after the other as they keep coming out. Like Clubhouse is just this week's one. God knows what will happen next week. But every time we get this, you're kind of fractionalizing your attention. You're fractionalizing your input, your effectiveness, your dedication, your consistency, the persistence that's required to actually make any of these platforms actually work. And then the second side of it is, from my point of view, once again, you're splitting your audience, let's say, but all of these things are really rented audiences. Like we do a lot on social media. It's what our agency is built on. But 99.9% of our clients have a website. And ultimately, the goal of social media is to gather people's attention by saying, hey, look over here, and then quickly bringing them over to the website where they can get something, do something, interact in some way. And I think having another new channel, getting another one added onto your kind of list of things to do, it's getting to the point now where as marketers, even, it's impossible. Like it's just impossible. Instagram has 5 different formats that you have to post in. LinkedIn added stories plus lives plus video plus it's impossible to do all things. And after a while, you're going to get to the point where I think more and more brands are going to have to choose, unless you've got huge budgets, but small businesses, you're going to have to just choose, and you're going to have to sit down and basically make an agreement with yourself. This is my number one channel because I enjoy it. This is something else that's really important. The one that you enjoy the most, that's where I'm going to spend the most of my time and I'm going to put most of my effort. My audience is there. And then start being a bit more selective, a bit like you're saying now. Are you going to go and spend hours sat there sifting through Clubhouse? No. But again, it's the same reason why I don't spend hours on TikTok and Snapchat and a variety of the other platforms as well.
I think that one of the key things that you sort of touched on there was the question of, is my audience on this platform? I see at the moment, while yes, there are opportunities on something like Clubhouse, I do also see that is that potential of, the old saying, marketers ruin everything. It's very much focused around the kind of rooms and conversations, which is all, again, around the whole hypey, do this, make millions, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. For me, it's just never, it's not the environment I want to be in. I don't want, it's like, I love marketing. I love doing what I'm doing. It's the stuff around the periphery that unfortunately more people think about that I hate. And that's what I'm trying to fight against. It's what I'm trying to fight against with, the new format of the podcast, for example, what I'm fighting against when it comes to actually helping my clients achieve results, because I'm not telling them that all you need to do is be on this one platform or do this or do that. It's like, no, your big focus is you have to have a principle-based strategy that is on fundamentals of human behavior, and then choose the right systems and platforms and tactics around it that will deliver you the result that you want to achieve. Like that's it. Like it might mean that you have to say no to a lot of stuff, and that's fine. But if you focus on every single week teaching or providing value around the thing that you already do, the problem that you solve for a specific type of person, in front of a pre-warmed audience that has had that trust transferred to you, why the heck would you want to spend 4 hours on Clubhouse?
To be honest,
I just don't know.
I've struggled to spend time on Clubhouse. I won't lie. I'm struggling with it. It's not something that, and I love audio. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but this just feels like one more thing. And eventually, well, not even eventually, I'm at saturation
maybe it's
point.
maybe it just is a timing thing. And right now in this situation, people are craving connection. They're kind of feeling isolated, and they can eavesdrop into conversations that they want to be part of. And it kind of is that community thing. Whether it will continue after this situation has gone away, I don't know. Maybe it will be even better. I don't know. I'm not a crystal ball. I just know that I struggle spending enough time with like my family, my wife, like to spend more time on another social media platform. I don't have the time for it. It's like, no, don't. I'm not going to get distracted by it. So yeah, the focus is more on, right, where do I want to be? What do I enjoy doing? And what is going to get the best results? And how am I going to stay in control over it? Because you mentioned a lot of these platforms, they are rented. Well, the one thing that isn't rented is your relationships with other complementary businesses, other partners. It's not rented. It's yours to lose if you screw it up.
Yeah, but it's not rented, like you said. And it's also something that is uncopyable, unstealable. It's not, it's not a great piece of tech that somebody can copy and rebuild. You are literally, your relationships and the way that you interact with those people is yours and yours alone, and can never be
100%.
replicated, can never be stolen, can never be taken away from you. Like you said, you can lose them, but hugely powerful in terms of the way you deal with people, the way you treat them, the way you work with them, the way you collaborate together, partner, and even, like I said, the conversations that you can have with them. It's hugely powerful.
Also, I listened to, I can't remember what it was, podcast or something, and it was Jay Abraham, and he was asked a question along the lines of, if we took everything away from you, everything, your list, like your money, like everything, and you had to start again, all again, from scratch, and build a 7-figure business in as quick a time as possible, how would you do it? And with it, with no thought, joint venture, partnership marketing, without doubt. That guy is very smart.
Absolutely.
His entire career has been based on it. And again, I'd moved away, I guess, from following some of that sort of stuff and got seduced by some of the tactical things over the years and all the rest of it. But that's the kind of thing that I grew up, my marketing career started on people like that, and real deep strategic stuff like that. So you go back to what's worked, and it's what's worked again and again and again and again. There's books down here that are, Breakthrough Advertising, Eugene Schwartz, for example. That is timeless principles in a book. Like, it's one of the most powerful books you can read about how to create messaging that there is. He didn't have the internet.
Absolutely.
He wasn't doing social media, but it's the principles that work.
I couldn't agree more. Adam, thank you so much for coming on today. I've enjoyed our chat. Well, I always enjoy our chats anyway, but I'm happy that we managed to hit the record button for once.
Yeah, it's nice change.
It is, yeah.
Although I haven't been able to use my usual profanities towards you, but there we go.
Well, to be fair, just once letting me off and being nice seems like a nice change of pace for us. Where can people find you online, Adam? Where's the best place to connect?
So, what I've done is I've updated the page from the previous podcast. So if you want to go and have a look at thinklikeafish.co.uk/AADM, you will find a number of things there. You'll find everywhere to connect with me, LinkedIn, listen to the podcast, all that kind of thing. There's also a free copy of my book there, Conversational Relationship Marketing. You do not even have to opt in for that. That is a completely free gift. You also get the audio version, which basically goes really into depth around the actual thinking and the strategy behind the whole partnership piece. It's all around creating conversations and relationships in order to grow your business. So you can grab hold of that. And there's a few other things on there. There's a training on there about the accelerator that I run, which is basically how to use partnerships to guarantee 500,000 in revenue in 12 months. And that is a big promise that I make and I stick to when people come and work with me. So if you want to find out about that, thinklikeafish.co.uk/AADM.
Excellent. Adam, thank you very much.
Awesome. Great chatting as always, Chris.